And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to pole qualifying day here for the NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series in Season 8, as these drivers are going to try and get themselves the best qualifying position for this season's Great American Race, the Daytona 500. And already we've got a number of drivers already peeling off of pit road. The first of those looked like it might have been the 4 machine of Danny Wells. Now this is going to be a slightly different qualifying session than what we've had all week. We've had 25 minutes for the qualifying session for trucks, 25 minutes for the qualifying session for mobile. Here in the Snickers Cup, though, for the Daytona 500, we got ourselves 20-minute qualifying session here. The top 30 then advance into a 15-minute qualifying session. Then the top 20 advance into a 10-minute qualifying session. Top 10 then advance into a final 10-minute qualifying session, and at the end of that we will have ourselves, at least for what we know of, our pole and front row sitters for the Daytona 500. The rest of the field, based on how they qualify today, then they will be in Budweiser duels 1 and 2. And look at all these drivers coming off pit road in droves. Now why is that? That's because they know in order to complete lap times that are going to get them up inside the top 30 to move on to the next round, they need to be in a big pack. But let's start here with introducing everybody in this field. It's going to be taking the green flag to start off the season in the Daytona 500. Danny Wells, former chaser last season, back with Tweenix Racing, but now driving the number 4 machine. Sponsored this week by Rockstar Energy. Danny Wells did not pick up any wins last season, and once the chase started, he really had a tough time. He's going to try and battle back here and try at least get to victory lane here with Tweenix Racing in the new number 4 team. Coming to his inside is one of our 6 rookies this season. And that is Makoto Iguchi. Now, Andrea Erickson was scheduled to actually drive this machine, but there was a last-minute driver change for Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports, and Makoto Iguchi will be making his very first debut here in the Snickers Cup Series, his very first debut in NSRA competition as a whole. James Quall's coming on to the racetrack. We'll cover him in just a moment. As right now, Trent Dunham is moving on by him. Trent Dunham coming in with a 2-car team this season for Sega Motorsports, and we saw Trent in the Sprint Unlimited a couple of nights ago. Trent Dunham trying to reverse the curse, if you will. I mean, remember when the Red Sox couldn't win a World Series and they reversed the curse? Well, Trent Dunham trying to do the same thing here, because this is Daytona. And for any under 2003 person that knows Trent and Daytona, the relationship is not a good one. And Trent Dunham going to see if maybe he can pick up his very first Daytona 500 victory here in NSRA competition. Moving to his inside, one of the 3 Ford teams this season. Ford actually coming in with a lot of rides this year. And the one that is just bypassing Trent Dunham right now is out of Heavy Metal Motorsports, the team owner of that particular Ford group. That's Levi McIntyre. McIntyre had a rather struggling rookie season last year for Roush Fenway. This season, though, coming in the number 60 Ford Fusion with his own team and a couple of rookie teammates. We'll see how Heavy Metal Motorsports stacks up against the other 2 Ford teams that are going to be battling here this season in Season 8. Audi has been really one of the teams that people are saying is going to be the one to emerge up into the forefront this season. And the part owner of the Kyotech Racing team, Anthony McCrory, is right there with James McLeod right behind. McCrory returning with a rather new looking color on his machine, the kind of turquoise aqua blue Monster Energy Audi. Now McCrory is a 2-time chaser. He was a chaser in Season 6, a chaser in Season 7, both times driving in an Audi RS4. So he'll try and make his 3rd straight chase with the Audi, but Audi has yet to win a Daytona 500, and Audi has yet to win a championship. McCrory going to be trying to do that here this season. James McLeod right behind him, back in the very familiar number 51. The only difference on McLeod's ride this season as opposed to last season is the entire Tweenix team going with Turner numbers, and last season McLeod did not have the Justin Allgaier-like number 51 on his machines. This season, he will. You should actually be able to see as he goes by here. You'll be able to see on the side, it is the Turner Motorsports number 51 on his machine now. James McLeod, don't forget, a former Daytona 500 winner, too. He won it back, I believe it was in Season 5. James Qualls, he is a rookie this season. I forgot to put the little rookie symbol alongside of his name, but I believe he's a rookie. And Chevy Camaro, and he's driving for ML Racing. And he's just gotten bypassed by a number of drivers. First of them is Jessica Shelton in the number 94 this season for Michael Norman Motorsports, making the move over from the 29. We saw Shelton ended up blowing up in the Mobile Cup Series qualifying session, but right now, looking very good in Snickers competition, 5th fastest, currently on track for the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. Right behind her, William Duncan, moving over to a 2-car team. It's no longer Penske Racing, it's actually Duncan Young Motorsports. And with the Pokemon Sapphire and Fire Red, I believe, I think that's what the sponsor is on it. I'm not a big Pokemon expert, so I really wouldn't know. But William Duncan right now, 5th fastest on track, and looking very good, as Duncan had a rather struggling season last season. Tried to find his groove at Roush Fenway Racing, drove the 99 for the first half of the season, moved over to the 6 nearing the beginning of the chase, and just really was not able to find a whole lot of successes. Right behind him is another Ford, and this is out of the Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports. Jake Rogers, a half owner of that team. Jake Rogers, a former Truck Series champion, has not been having the best of success in trucks, or in Snickers though, as he ran a Ford for, I believe it was Penske Racing last season, and this season now coming in the number 19. We'll see how he does. It's coming to his inside line is the defending champion of this series, Jacob Lawler. Now, he won the championship last season for Joe Gibbs Racing. That team is pretty much semi-folded up, and now Jacob Lawler has moved over to the Chevy Camaro team of Hendrick Daly Motorsports, driving the Farmers Insurance Chevy Camaro. So we'll see how Lawler does here, as he's going to try and go for back-to-back Snickers Cup Series championships. And don't forget, Jacob Lawler, like James McLeod, is a former winner of the 500. Bob Jones, who showed what he can do here at Daytona a couple nights ago in the Sprint Unlimited, won the event. Right now, 9th fastest on track in the Michael Norman Motorsports Chevrolet. And Bob Jones, he's never won the 500. He's only got one Snickers Cup Series win, and he was a chaser last season. A lot of people saying this guy could be a great addition to Michael Norman Motorsports, and we'll see what he can do when the 500 comes around. Currently, 3rd fastest on track. Right behind him, Cole Daly in the number 88. Now, Daly did not have a very good season for Hendrick Motorsports last season, but now taking over part ownership of this Chevy Camaro team. Right now, 2nd fastest on track for the DuPont Chevrolet, as Cole Daly trying to pick up his first win of the season since Season 6. He went winless all of Season 7 last year. Just catching off the draft of James McLeod is Chris Washer in the 10, one of the 2 rides out of the newly formed Uper Motorsports, the only team to keep Dodge even in the Snickers Cup Series. Chris Washer was a 2-time winner last season. One of his wins came at Coca-Cola Speedway, so he knows how to get around restrictor plate tracks, and he'll have the tutelage of his teammate Ian Dutta, who we'll see in a few moments, that he'll be able to work with. He was 40th fastest, now 36th fastest. You can see, just catching up to this big pack of cars is helping the lap times of these drivers. Another of these rookies that we're going to be looking at, Isaac Canepa in the number 8 machine. That's out of Sega Motorsports. Canepa ran, I guess we can kind of say full-time. He only missed one race in the Truck Series last season after he replaced Austin Ogo. But Isaac Canepa here, the rookie for Sega Motorsports, he and Trent Dunham going to try and see what they can get done here, as Canepa's running his very first full-time season in Snickers Cup Series competition. He's run full-time in mobile, he's run full-time in trucks, and he has a Trucks and Mobile Cup Series win. So will we see Canepa in victory lane here in his rookie season in Snickers Cup Series competition? Who knows, we very well might. Up ahead, Joshua Balkowitz was able to get around the Isaac Canepa machine, driver that he'll be actually battling for Rookie of the Year honors with. Balkowitz, the 4th ride put together for Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports, and not really a whole lot known about this driver. The only thing I remember seeing Balkowitz actually in was one of the NNSCRA Royal Rumbles, but aside from that, we don't know much about this driver. But right now, looks like he's running pretty well there, running with a Ford of Harrison Langford, which is not a teammate though. Langford is the 43 out of Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports, and Langford sticking with a Petty number. He was with the 45, went to victory lane twice last season with a Dodge out of Petty Motorsports, now in the number 43 in a Ford now with Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports, but still keeping a Petty number. So we'll see how Langford does as he'll try and pick up his third win of his career in Snickers Cup competition. Right behind the Isaac Canepa machine is another rookie, and I did forget to put the rookie signal up there, little rookie R. But James Qualls, this is his first time in the Snickers Cup Series, I believe. I am going to actually have to look back in my other standings to see if James Qualls did make any starts. Because if he isn't a rookie, then we'd only have 6 rookies, I believe. But anyway, James Qualls, a Chevy Camaro single-car race team with ML Racing. And we'll see how he does right now, 40th fastest on track. Sean Henley right behind them there in the number 57, and coming to his inside is the 25, a ride that he's very familiar with. He's driven that 25 car for a number of seasons, but now it's moved over to Hendrick Daly Motorsports with Ashley LaPlante. But Sean Henley, former Snickers Cup Series champion, almost won the championship last season to become the first 2-time Snickers Cup Series champ, but was not able to close the deal, and Henley running the new number 57. First time we've seen Sean Henley make a number change in a long time in Snickers Cup Series competition. As whole freight train coming to the inside, we'll try and cover them. We'll start first with Ashley LaPlante in the number 25. That's a 5th ride that was put together for Hendrick Daly Motorsports. Ashley LaPlante, I don't believe, has been in Snickers Cup Series competition since season 4, so nice to see her back. And right now she's 16th fastest on track. It's coming to her inside. Another former Snickers Cup Series champion, Charles Jackson, won the championship back in season 6. Now over with the newly formed Toyota team. We told you, Uper Motorsports, the only team keeping Dodge alive. Well, Charles Jackson and Kyle Corbett for the Gibbs Waltrip Mayonnaise Racing, the only 2-car team keeping Toyota Camry alive in Snickers Cup Series competition, as Charles Jackson trying to see what he'll be able to get going here with this Toyota team. Did not have the best of seasons last season when he made the move over to Everham Mayonnaise Racing in the 19. He'll try and see if he can get back some Toyota magic here in season 8. Right behind him, another manufacturer in this field, Pontiac, with Ralph Mason. Now this is out of Kyotech Racing, however, but it is not an Audi, it is a Pontiac. So Ralph Mason bringing yet another unique make to this series, as we have not had Pontiacs in the Snickers Cup Series, I don't think, since season 2. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ralph Mason will be able to bring to the table. Right now, just barely outside the top 30 in the 32nd position. But he's got a couple of Kyotech Audis behind him. One of them is actually coming to pit road. We'll cover him first. James Silverfox, who out of all the Kyotech drivers last season had the most dismal season, finished way down in the point standings. He's going to try and come back with a little bit more energy and for some revenge this season, as Silverfox has not won a Snickers Cup Series race, I don't think, since season 5, when he won 2 races driving the number 19 machine for Everham Racing. His teammate, we did not get to cover him, but we'll jump to him now. We asked you guys on Straw Poll, which NR 2003 NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series rookie do you think is going to be the one to watch this season? And the majority of you voted Tanner Sullivan, the new driver, the rookie driver for Kyotech Racing. And Tanner Sullivan, a former winner here at Daytona, won the Truck Series event here last season, and we'll see how he does here in his very first full-time Snickers Cup Series season with the Audi team of Kyotech. And yes, that is a number 20 running an Audi, in case you were just trying to adjust your screen or rub your eyes to make sure you weren't dreaming. Yep, that is a number 20 car, but it is not the Gibbs 20, it is a different 20, so you know, it's not too bad. But Marines on the sponsorship on that Audi, and we'll see how Tanner Sullivan does in his rookie season. John Cittadino, another former Snickers Cup Series champion, almost won the championship last season to become a 2-time champion. But John Cittadino running now for the newly formed Cittadino Ed Motorsports. Remember, the past 2 seasons, he ran for Sega Motorsports, or before then, it was Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Now John Cittadino going out on his own, joins James Qualls as a single-car race team. And Cittadino Ed Motorsports, looks like they got themselves a very fast Chevy SS right now, 13th fastest on track for the Expedex Chevrolet. Right behind him, the second ride out of the Gibbs Waltrip Mayonnaise Racing, Kyle Corbett, former winner last season, but after his win at Auto Club, the wheels really seemed to come off the number 56 machine, but he's back with the 56 in a Toyota. And he's got new sponsorship this season, too, with Crown Royal, Verizon Wireless, and State Water Heaters on his Toyota Camry. Noah Hart out of Audi, the Kyotech Racing team. Right there, just ahead of a couple of other drivers. And Noah Hart, forward chaser last season, almost won the championship. Now in the new number change over to the 81, no longer the 47, but still sponsored, of course, by Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Right behind him, Chevy Camaro's number 24 of Kyle Matthews, sponsored by, I believe it's Kings Island Amusement Park. And Kyle Matthews drove the number 5 for Hendrick Motorsports last season, now still with Hendrick, but now Hendrick Dally Motorsports. And he was a former winner last season, too, won at the Milwaukee Mile. There's the second driver for Duncan Youngkin. That was a good one. Youngkin Motorsports. Duncan Young Motorsports. Dylan Young, sponsored by Hooters. We saw him have quite an interesting Sprint Unlimited race where he had a number of barrel rolls on the back straightaway, but he's back and he's ready to qualify his way into the front row for the Daytona 500. Currently 11th fastest on track. Dougie Shears had a very dismal season, trying to get back his old mojo with Red Bull Racing last season. It did not happen, and so he's now moved over to Michael Norman Motorsports in the number 21 machine. We're going to go a little bit quicker here because we're probably only going to have about 2 minutes left to cover the racing here for the drivers trying to move their way in. Sean Galligan, new driver here for the RGE BMW Motorsports. It's the first BMW we've actually seen on track right now, as Galligan had a great season last season with Tweenix Racing. We'll see how he does here in Season 8 with BMW. Jessica Shelton there, we already covered her. Cody Lamas, just there on the high side. We saw him actually come away with a decent top 10 run in the Sprint Unlimited there in the Chevy Camaro for Hendrick Dally Motorsports. Joshua Michaels, another BMW out of RGE BMW Racing. Right behind him, Tweenix Racing Chevrolet Dylan Poteet in the number 31 car, sponsored by Mountain Dew. Megan Atkins in the 33 for Michael Norman Motorsports. Ended up winning last season in the next to last race of the season at Talladega. Coming in looking for her second career Snickers Cup Series victory. Ian Dutta right behind her. Guy who basically dominated the Sprint Unlimited but was not able to capitalize on the win. In that, I can't believe it's not buttered Dodge for Uper Motorsports. And I believe there's a couple others I'm not getting here. Yep, Michael Norman there in the 3 for Michael Norman Motorsports. Had a great run in Sprint Unlimited. Joshua Collard for Mitsubishi Lancer, the Gonzalez Motorsports team. His first Mitsubishi we've seen on track here. And Joshua Collard right now running 30th fastest. The last driver who would transfer into the next qualifying session. There's Bob Jones. Seth Cole there in the BMW, the third BMW for RG BMW Racing, making his return to the Snickers Cup Series. He hasn't been in Snickers Cup Series competition since Season 4. Zachary Fitzwater for Heavy Metal Motorsports in the John Deere Ford Fusion, and he's a rookie this season. Brandon Gonzalez, the owner of Gonzalez Motorsports for Mitsubishi, right there in the Miku Tasimi, Hasimi Miku? Something like that. I don't know. I know nothing about anime either. I am completely illiterate when it comes to anime, but there he is, 14th fastest right now. And then there's the other driver out of Heavy Metal Motorsports, the Red Bull Sailor Moon Ford of Nathan Hudson, battling his teammate Zachary Fitzwater for Rookie of the Year honors. See if anybody else that I missed. I may have actually just covered them all. I believe I did. Oh, nope, missed one. Charles Sanford. I thought I missed a Mitsubishi. Charles Sanford in the MLB 14 The Show Mitsubishi Lancer out of Gonzalez Motorsports. So let's quickly look here at our grid. Noah Hart is right now the fastest on track, so he'll definitely transfer in. Cole Daly second. Bob Jones, Cody Lamas, Kyle Corbett, that's the top 5. Then Jessica Shelton, Jake Rogers, Jacob Lawler, Seth Cole, and William Duncan are the top 10. The drivers right now who would not transfer include Trent Dunham, James McLeod, Isaac Canepa, Tanner Sullivan, Silver Fox, Bolkowitz, Harrison Langford, Ralph Mason, Chris Washer, James Qualls, Levi McIntyre, and Charles Sanford. The last driver in right now is Joshua Collard in 30th place. We'll keep an eye on there on the top 30. Just barely in the Tweenix cars of Danny Wells and Sean Henley. Michael Norman just barely in. Ashley LaPlante and Dylan Pote right there on the verge too, and I believe practice is over, but they got one more lap here to be able to cycle around here. This is the final opportunity. Is Jake Rogers going to come right up in front of this pack and kill their momentum. They were able to get around him though, but that may have slowed them down. Oh, someone just displaced Joshua Collard. McCurry just jumped up there somewhere, I think. Wait, who just jumped up? Somebody did. I'm not certain who it was either. But someone who was about to be displaced is now jumped into the top 30, and Joshua Collard will miss it. Oh, they're wrecking back there now! Kyle Corbett, Cody Lamas. Just as practice is over. And oh, look out, look out, look out. Corbett has been spun around again by Cody Lamas. Sanford has received damage from this. And Corbett... Oh man, Cody Lamas may have to go to a backup car. And if that's the case, then I think that would move Joshua Collard up into the top 30. Okay, hold on. We have now officially finished up practice.
Drivers,
and let's see what this shows. Noah Hart will transfer into the next segment, so will Cole Daly, Bob Jones. Cody Lamas, though, we got to find out if he went to a backup car or not. If he did, Joshua Collard has now moved into the top 30, and Lamas will have to start at the rear of the field in the backup machine. Kyle Corbett, same for him. We're going to have to find out if he's going to have to go to a backup car, as he was 5th fastest. Shelton 6th, Rogers 7th, Lawler 8th, Seth Cole in 9th, and Makoto Iguchi was 10th fastest. Then Gonzalez, Duncan, Fitzwater, Michaels, Dylan Young, Galligan, Dutta, Shears, McLeod, Jackson, Citadino, Megan Atkins, Kyle Matthews, Nathan Hudson, Anthony McCurry, Dylan Poteet, Ashley LaPlante, Michael Norman, and then Sean Henley and Danny Wells. Now, if Kyle Corbett and Cody Lamas have to go to backup cars, they will not transfer into the next segment, and it would be Joshua Collard and Trent Dunham who would move into the top 30 and be in the next segment to qualify for the pole. As drivers who we definitely know will not be in it are Canepa, Sullivan, Silver, Fox, Balkowitz, Langford, Mason, Washer, Qualls, McIntyre, and Sanford. Now, Sanford may have to go to a backup car too. If he does, doesn't matter. He won't move on to the next segment. So we're going to find out in just a moment if indeed Cody Lamas, who qualified 4th fastest, and Kyle Corbett, who qualified 5th fastest, if those two will have to go to backup cars. If so, Collard and Trent Dunham would move in to the next segment. So we'll be right back and update you on what's going to go on with the 48 and the 56 in just a moment. So we return back here for our second part of the Daytona 500 pole day qualifying, and we have indeed received word that Charles Stanford did not go to a backup car. They're going to try and get that car repaired. However, Cody Lamas and Kyle Corbett both took their cars back to the garage. They have announced they will be rolling out the backup cars for both the 48 and the 56, which means they will start at the rear of the field for the Great American Race, and that means as a result, Joshua Collard and Trent Dunham both take their places here in this top 30 qualifying session. And with the fact that we basically used up all of the first session to introduce the drivers this season in the Snickers Cup Series competition, we will now be able to, for this as well as the next two segments of pole day qualifying, be able to basically now concentrate on speeds, as right now we're looking at Jessica Shelton, 6th fastest in the first session, and now trying to qualify her way onto the pole position for the Daytona 500. Right behind her, Dylan Poteet. As the field spaces out, it's going to be more difficult for these drivers to come onto the racetrack in packs. And if they do come out in packs, that is where they're actually going to produce the most speed. As here's a couple coming off together. William Duncan, Dougie Shears, and Jake Rogers not too far behind. Nobody really right there, though. Jessica Shelton did not cross the line when she came off pit road, so therefore her first timed lap will be this next time around. And it'll be interesting to see here if any drivers are able to keep consistent with their speeds, or is it just the fact they were in the right place at the right time during the first session. Shelton was 6th fastest in the first session, but she was in that big pack of cars. Will she still be able to produce the same amount of speed in that 94? 47.505. I believe Dylan Pote behind her actually ran a faster lap, as Shelton and Joshua Collard raced side by side there, so that'll be someone that Shelton will be able to work with here to try and get a faster lap. Pote actually was not very fast in the first qualifying session. Right now, 3rd fastest on track. He was actually 26th fastest. One of those drivers really close to not making it into this second session. As now drivers are going to start to form up into packs here. This could be an interesting one. Zachary Fitzwater just now moving around Joshua Michaels, but just up ahead of them, you got Jacob Lawler working with his Hendrick Daly Motorsports teammate Kyle Matthews in the 24s. Those two Chevy Camaros working together. And if they keep a tight draft like they're doing right now, that's going to help them get up there into the top 20. There'll be 10 more eliminations after this one. Then we'll have the top 20, and then in the next session it'll be the top 10 to finish it out. And whoever out of those 10 has the first and second fastest speeds, they will start on the front row for the Daytona 500, unless they will have to participate in the Budweiser duels, and if they end up having to go to backup cars there, they forfeit their good qualifying spots in the Daytona 500 in the Great American Races. Let's see what Kyle Matthews and Jacob Lawler will run here. The two of them have been nose to tail this whole lap. 45.509 for Kyle Matthews. Lawler behind him, a 45.515. 6th and 7th fastest right now on the score charts. Let's see who the fastest on track is, and it still is the 31 of Dylan Pote. His fastest lap just ran a 44.870. His fastest lap in the first session was a 44.029. So 0.8 off his fastest lap in the first session. But now they're going to start to bunch up into a big group here. And I'm telling you, if they catch up to that second group there up ahead of them, of Matthews, Lawler, and Jake Rogers, this is going to be a big pack, and this may be the pack that'll produce the speed. Joshua Michaels in this group, Joshua Collard as well, and Zachary Fitzwater, the rookie out of Heavy Metal Motorsports. 44.529 now the lap laid down by Dylan Pote. Still, though, has not hit the 44 O's, which was where he was in the first session. Keep in mind, though, there's not nearly as many cars in this pack, but those 5 cars, they're going to catch those other 3 cars, and that'll make an 8-car pack. As right now, Brandon Gonzalez is second fastest on track. Let's see where the 23's at. There he is. He and Trent Dunham are actually second and third fastest right now, as Bob Jones, Charles Jackson, and Anthony McCurry all try and merge together and make a little bit of a 5-car pack right now. The guy who was fastest in our first session, Noah Hart, now working with Seth Cole and Makoto Iguchi, 8th fastest right now for his Audi. And let's see if Dylan Pote improved on his lap at all this time. Nope, actually was a 10th slower, 44.616. But now they have caught that other 3-car pack of Lawler, Matthews, and Rogers, and now I believe this is quite possibly going to be the group that's going to produce the speed. And Jessica Shelton, I don't know if she's trying to hang back to catch the tail draft of this group and get a really, really fast lap, or if she lost the draft. Looks like she hasn't. I think she's still in the draft. And let's see if this is going to improve. No, actually a 10th slower again for Dylan Pote. But Zachary Fitzwater just jumped up to 3rd fastest, and Collard fell to 4th fastest. Right now, though, this big group of cars is producing only about maybe 0.5 of a second more than that other group we saw with Anthony McCurry and Brandon Gonzalez, Trent Dunham, and Charles Jackson. So apparently right now the conditions are not exactly the same as they were in the first session. As we'll look down here, I believe all drivers are on track. They are. And right now Dylan Young is the driver in the 20th position. He would be the last driver to transfer into the next session. Right now getting help from Nathan Hudson. Actually, Hudson just bypassed Dylan Young for 20th place. Now Dylan Young is 21st. And now a number of other drivers just jumped up into the top 20. Atkins just jumped up inside. So too did Dougie Shears and Sean Galligan. Right now, Citadino, Ashley LaPlante, Nathan Hudson, Dylan Young, Bob Jones, William Duncan, James McLeod, Ian Dutta, Cole Daly, and Michael Norman would be the ones in danger of not transferring into the next session. As Dylan Poteet, I think, is still the fastest on track. And indeed he is. But now he's running in the 45s. I think the last 4 laps he has been at least a tenth slower each and every lap. He started out being up in the 44.5s, then he was in the 44.6s, 44.7s, now he's ended up in the 45 flats basically. So that is a group of cars there that looks like it could produce speed, but it is not producing speed at the current moment, as I believe someone just jumped up into the top 20 and now has displaced Dougie Shears to 21st. And I don't know, I guess that driver may be Megan Atkins, who's now 11th fastest on track. See if any more speeds produced this time. 44.895. That time about a tenth and a half faster for Dylan Poteet than his last lap. So now that group apparently is beginning to move. Driver right now that needs to have a fast lap is this guy, Dougie Shears, but there's nobody around him. His last lap was a 54.937. He's got his teammate, Bob Jones, the Sprint Unlimited winner, catching up here, but he really needs help if he's going to get himself up here into the top 20 to move into the next session. Bob Jones, the same for him. Bob Jones, I believe, is maybe 27th fastest? Nope, 25th fastest. And Sean Henley just got moved down to 20th. It was Sean Galligan who was in that little 20th position, that very precarious area, and now Sean Henley's just gotten moved there, as his former teammate Sean Galligan was able to bypass him for 19th place on the grid. Here is Henley working with Galligan and his teammate James McLeod, and Henley that time was 5/10 slower than his fastest lap. James McLeod at the current moment is not locked into the next event, the next session. McLeod is currently 27th fastest. Oh, and someone just displaced Sean Henley was Michael Norman, just ran 19th fastest. Just moved himself up into the top 20 as he's working here with Iguchi, Seth Cole, Cole Daly, and Noah Hart. Where is Noah Hart? Oh, he's 11th fastest. Okay. I didn't know if he was in danger of missing the next session because he was fastest in our first session. Actually, you're looking right here at the drivers who were first and second fastest in our session, our last session, our first session. Cole Daly was second fastest and Noah Hart was the fastest on track. Right now, Daly is, wow, he's the slowest car on track. Of course, he may have just been caught too. Oh, there you go, 44.959 just moved him up into the top 20. And that might have displaced Michael Norman. No, Norman's still 17th fastest. Oh, someone just moved up. I think it was Seth Cole just moved up in, and so did John Citadino, so did William Duncan. So drivers are making their moves now, as now Cole Daly is outside of the top 20, and so is Sean Galligan, Sean Henley, Dougie Shears, Ashley LaPlante, and Ian Dutta, who dominated the Sprint Unlimited right now. He is dead last. As now Bob Jones and Dougie Shears, a little glimmer of hope for these guys here with 4 minutes remaining. Now they got a group of cars that have caught them. They may be able to merge and maybe lay down something to get themselves up inside the top 20. Right now, Cole Daly, second fastest in the first practice session, is the first driver to be eliminated if the session were to end now, as he is 21st place at the current moment. Let's see who John Citadino's been able to work with to be able to get himself up inside the top 20. Here he is, working here with Danny Wells, Nathan Hudson. I believe that's Megan Atkins back there as well. Out of these four, 3 of them are currently inside the top 20. Citadino, Wells, and Atkins. Nathan Hudson, though, is not, as he is currently 24th fastest on track at the current moment. Let's find William Duncan in that 12 machine. Where's he at? He's currently 17th fastest on track, working here with Ian Dutta, Jacob Lawler, Joshua Collard, Trent Dunham, and Zachary Fitzwater right behind, and Duncan That time was a 45.512. Right now, Ian Dutta heading this group, but he's not producing enough speed to get himself up inside the top 20. His teammate Chris Washer was already eliminated in the first session, and Uper Motorsports' chance of having a driver start even up inside the top 10 may be in trouble here if Ian Dutta's not able to get himself a fast lap and quickly. Only 2.5 minutes left in this session. Going to quickly look at the top here, as Joshua Collard is fastest on track now. Trent Dunham second, Michaels third, Fitzwater fourth, Lawler fifth. Then it's Poteet, Rogers, Brandon Gonzalez, Jessica Shelton, and Charles Jackson. All of a sudden the Mitsubishi's coming to life here. As right now, Makoto Iguchi still is in that 20th position, would move into the next session. Cole Daly, Dougie Shears, Sean Galligan, Sean Henley, and a number of others outside of the top 20. And actually, Ian Dutta just passed somebody on track for spot as far as speeds, and that's actually James McLeod. He's now 29th fastest is Dutta. McLeod now the slowest in practice with a 45.497. William Duncan now bringing his car to pit road. Don't know if that's such a good idea though, because he's now moved down to 20th fastest. He's in that precarious spot as Dougie Shears just moved up and somebody just spun. Who was it though? I can't tell. Whoever it was, they drove away from it apparently. Trying to see if there's any damage on any driver, but I don't see anybody. It might have been Dougie Shears, or it might have been Ashley LaPlante. I don't know which. Let's see if LaPlante comes to pit road this time. Yeah, Ashley's coming to pit road. It may have been the 25. Looks like there's a little bit of damage to the right side of her machine. But she is 27th fastest on track right now. I don't think that's anything fatal that would cause her to go to a backup car, but she isn't going to make the next session, I don't think. As Dougie Shears jumped up to 12th fastest, John Cittadino now is in 20th. Uh-oh. They're really swapping around spots now. Jake Rogers just jumped up into there. So did John Cittadino, so did Danny Wells, and now Anthony McCrory's in the precarious spot as Cole Daly just made his way up into the top 20. He's currently 19th fastest. Iguchi and Rogers jumped up to 11th and 12th. And now Ian Dutta is 21st. Now Duncan's out of the top 20, so is Kyle Matthews, so is Michael Norman. This is going to be, I think, the last scored lap. Let's follow Ian Dutta. Oh, he's coming to pit road. If he hadn't come to pit road, I don't know if he'd have been able to challenge McCrory for a spot inside the top 20 there or not, but this session, I think, is going to be over now. I don't think they're going to be scoring anybody's laps. There's Henley. He's going to miss the next session. McCrory just barely going to make it in as he's 20th fastest, and just behind him, Charles Jackson, 18th fastest. As I believe this session may be over. Oh wow, this was a big pack that formed all of a sudden. No wonder Cittadino jumped up where he did. All these drivers, I believe, well, Sean Galligan is the exception, are going to be in the next session. Galligan will not, unless they're going to score this lap. If they score this lap, Galligan may jump up into the top 20. Are they going to score this lap or no? Nope, apparently not. Session was already over. Alright then, so let's see who of the top 20 is going to move into the next session. And it's going to be Joshua Collard, Trent Dunham, Joshua Michaels, Zachary Fitzwater, Jacob Lawler, Dylan Poteet, Danny Wells, John Cittadino, Nathan Hudson, and Megan Atkins. How about those two rookies for Heavy Metal Motorsports? 4th and 9th in this session.
Drivers,
teammates Jake Rogers and Makoto Iguchi, 11th and 12th. Gonzalez 13th, Seth Cole 14th, Dougie Shears 15th, Noah Hart 16th, Jessica Shelton 17th, 18th Charles Jackson, second in the last session. Cole Daly 19th fastest in this one, and Anthony McCrory the final driver to transfer into the next qualifying session. Drivers who will not be in it: Ian Dutta, William Duncan, Kyle Matthews, Sean Henley, Michael Norman, Sean Galligan, Ashley LaPlante, Bob Jones, Dylan Young, and James McLeod. So, as we move on to our next session, let's now find out who of the top 20 are going to move into the top 10 to battle it out for the pole and the outside of the front row positions for the Great American Race. Alright, it's getting even closer to crunch time here for these drivers, as at this session, the top 10 transfer into the final session of the day, and already Anthony McCurry, who had a near miss in the last session when he was the 20th fastest driver, the last driver to transfer in. He's now first driver on track, and it looks like his Cowtech Racing teammate, Noah Hart, coming out right behind him. So those two going to get as much track time as they can, as there's only 10 minutes in this session, and there will only be 10 minutes in the final qualifying session as well. Just want to let you guys know, too, these drivers, they are battling for the pole and outside of the front row positions for the Daytona 500. However, even if they get them, it doesn't mean they're guaranteed to start on the front row. These drivers that end up winning the pole and outside of the front row awards are going to have to take part in the next Snickers Cup Series events coming up, the Budweiser Duels, where drivers that qualify in the even numbers will start in the Gatorade Duel number 2, and drivers that qualify in the odd numbers will be in Gatorade Duel number 1. I think I'm going to call them the Gatorade Duels. I'm going to keep calling them Gatorade Duels because even though they're Budweiser Duels, who knows? Anyway, if the driver that locks up the pole position today and outside of the front row end up getting involved in a wreck, they will have to, if they go to a backup car, they will forfeit their good starting spot for the Daytona 500, and the entire outside line or inside line, depending on which driver goes to a backup car, will move up an entire row. So think of it this way: the driver who wins the Gatorade Duel number 1, if the pole sitter for the 500 wrecks, right there, that driver moves up a row, and they become the unofficial pole sitter for the Daytona 500. So, you know, this is a qualifying session for drivers to be able to test their cars out and everything. This will help them be able to get some setups and everything for the Gatorade Duels and such. However, as I said, if you get the pole or the outside of the front row, it's not a dead given that you are going to start in that spot when the green flag waves in the Daytona 500. As McCurry's fastest lap, his first lap, was a 46.375. We know these drivers are capable of hitting at least the 43s. However, the fastest lap for Joshua Collard in last session was a 44.274. That basically due to the fact that there were not nearly as many drivers on track then as there was in the first session. As McCurry is about to catch up here to Makoto Iguchi, and here comes Charles Jackson in the background there too. We saw the 61 and the 54 working together in the last session. Maybe they're going to try and work together here in this session, as now a 45.374 is the fastest lap for McCurry. And now he'll pull up to the back bumper of the Twisted T Ford out of Rogers V8 Performance Motorsports. That may help him produce even more speed, as right now running about 196, 197 down the back straightaway. Now steps out of line to be able to cool off the temperatures on his Audi. Let's bring up our ticker here and see who's in the top 10. Makoto Iguchi is now in the top 10. Oh, not anymore. They're swapping spots around there. Trent Dunham, second fastest right now, and he was second fastest in the last session. As McCurry, does he beat his lap? No, not this time. Just about maybe 2 100ths slower. Charles Jackson moved up there, and now a new pole sitter, at least for right now, Nathan Hudson. And he's got himself a good group here. Noah Hart, Dylan Poteet. Hart 5th fastest right now. Poteet, who's now getting bypassed, he is 17th fastest. Remember, the top 10 move in, and right now it's Hudson, Lawler, Daly, McCurry, Hart, Collard, Jackson, Dunham, Wells, and Atkins. That would be the 10 on track for the final session. As Atkins just was dropped out, who just moved in? I think it was Zachary Fitzwater. 44.983. Only. Oh, and we got a new driver atop the leaderboard. That's Makoto Iguchi with a 44.974. As they continue to move themselves into the top 10. Lawler just moved back in. Dylan Poteet now just moved into the top 10 and 10th. Right now, if you can run in the 44s, I think you're in good shape. And the only 4 that have done that so far are Iguchi, Hudson, Anthony McCurry, and Jacob Lawler. lot of discussion as to which Ford team is going to be the one to watch this season. I would say right now, keep your eyes on those rookies out of Heavy Metal Motorsports, Zachary Fitzwater and Nathan Hudson. Good engine package apparently over there. As the two of them right now, well, they still are actually. They're 2nd and 7th fastest right now, as Dylan Poteet was fastest on track for a while in our last session. He's now fastest on track here with a 44.562. The one driver that's trying to run him down is the defending champ, Jacob Lawler. There he is, 44.581 was his fastest lap. Only about 2/100ths slower than Dylan Poteet. He's working here with Joshua Collard, who was the fastest in our session last time. Right now, Joshua Collard is 11th fastest, just barely on the outside looking in. And now Lawler has lost his drafting partner. Oh, someone else just ran a fast lap. Joshua Michaels, a 449, working here with Dylan Poteet and Nathan Hudson. Right now, you're looking at your top 3 fastest on track. Michaels, Hudson, and Poteet. So even in this teeny tiny little 3-car pack, they're producing enough speed to get themselves up here atop the leaderboard. As now Seth Cole has cracked the top 10. He's 8th fastest now. BMW doing pretty good here today too. Seth Cole and Joshua Michaels up here in the final 20. Sean Galligan just barely missing out on making this one, as he, I believe, was 22nd fastest in the last session. Let's see if any of these 3 cut their lap times down at all. Yep, Poteet just did and Hudson just did. Now Poteet with a 44.517 and Hudson with a 44.530. But right now it is the BMW of Joshua Michaels, the fastest car on track right now. We've had 3 sessions, and in all 3 sessions we've had a different driver atop the speed charts. First session, it was Noah Hart. Second session, it was Joshua Collard. Third session here, it's Joshua Michaels. And kind of ironic, too, with the fact that it was the rides, the manufacturers you don't normally think of for Snickers Cup Series. Audi, who's been starting to make its presence felt here in Snickers Cup with Noah Hart in the first session. Joshua Collard with the newly formed Mitsubishi Lancer in the second session. And now, the BMW M3 of Joshua Michaels in the third session. And if that's the case, well, I'm trying to look here. No, there isn't actually any other of the crazy, unusual makes in this group. The only other one I could think of would actually be Pontiac, and Ralph Mason was eliminated already. Whoa! Joshua Michaels, 44.292. I didn't even see he ran that lap. That is one fast BMW right now. And I think that may have just clinched it for him. Jake Rogers just jumped up into the top 10, and Anthony McCrory just beat Michael's lap. How in the world did he do that? Working here with his teammate Noah Hart and with Cole Daly in the 88. Now McCrory with a 44.259. He is the fastest on track. Daly alongside of him is now 4th fastest on track. Noah Hart has yet to get into the top 10. He's currently 18th fastest at the moment. And Danny Wells right behind them. At the moment, with about 1:15 remaining, it's McCrory, Michaels, Hudson, Cittadino just moved up to 4th. Gonzalez just moved up to 5th. Then Daly, Fitzwater, Poteet, Lawler, and Danny Wells would be the top 10. Noah Hart right now in danger of making the final 10 cut here. Anthony McCrory trying to maybe help his teammate get in there. But I think McCrory would have to take the lead and then let the 81 get the tail draft off of him, as Noah Hart's been running the 45s, the low 45s basically. Is anyone going to make any bid to get up there inside the top 10? Right now it is McCrory, Michaels, Hudson has now moved up to 3rd. 4th place Cittadino, Gonzalez 5th, Daly 6th, Fitzwater 7th, Poteet 8th, 9th Jacob Lawler, and Jake Rogers in 10th. Here we go. This, I think, is the last scored lap here. Is anybody going to move up in there? Doesn't look like it. Danny Wells just was dropped to 11th. Seth Cole to 12th. Those two look like they may miss it. And we have now hit 0. Let's give them an opportunity here. They're going to come around and, I believe, finish out these laps that they have just started. But right now it looks like we're looking at the top 10. They're on that grid on your top left that are going to be in it. 1 Audi, 3 Fords, 2 Chevy Camaros, a BMW. Looks like 1 Mitsubishi Lancer and 2 Chevy SS's. And I believe now this session is going to indeed be over. And the drivers that'll make the cut to try and start on the pole and the outside of the front row for the Daytona 500 are as follows: Anthony McCurry, Joshua Michaels, Nathan Hudson, John Cittadino, Brandon Gonzalez, Cole Daly, Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Poteet, Jacob Lawler, and Jake Rogers. The drivers that will have to wait till the Gatorade duels in order to find out where they're going to start in the 500 include Danny Wells, Seth Cole, Dougie Shears, Noah Hart, Makoto Iguchi, Charles Jackson, Trent Dunham, Jessica Shelton, Joshua Collett, the fastest in practice last session, and Megan Atkins. So, let's head now for our final 10, see who's going to start on the front row for this season's Great American Race.
To your cars.
Alright, so here we go, getting ready to have our final 10-minute session of this qualifying, pole day qualifying that is, for the Daytona 500. And the first 2 cars already on pit road are the 2 drivers that have impressed me the most here in this qualifying session. The 2 rookies out of Heavy Metal Motorsports, Zachary Fitzwater and Nathan Hudson, the only 2 rookies actually to make it this far. Makoto Iguchi was eliminated in the last session, and so now it's just those 2 Ford drivers, those 2 Ford rookies, and one of them, I'll tell you, they've been consistent this whole qualifying session. They could have one of them or both of them start on the front row for the 500, as looks like everybody is on the pit road now. Let's see who the first one to peel off pit road is going to be. You'd think that these drivers would all want to come off of pit road together to be able to get the fastest lap. However, then again, you work with somebody and it may not work to your benefit. You may end up having them start ahead of you. In the 500 is John Cittadino, Anthony McCurry, Brandon Gonzalez. They're the first ones off of pit road, so let's follow the number 72 of former champion John Cittadino. Was 4th fastest in the last session. You know, we got an opportunity here for maybe a little bit of NSRA history to be made. We got an opportunity for a BMW and Joshua Michaels to start on the pole. We got a chance for a Chevy Camaro for the first time to start on the pole with Cole Daly and Jacob Lawler here in the final 10. And then also Brandon Gonzalez made his way into this final 10. That's an opportunity for a Mitsubishi Lancer to start on the pole for the Daytona 500. So, you never know. We may see it happen. And the important thing for these drivers, too, is whoever ends up starting first and second in the 500 will start on the pole for either Gatorade Duel number 1 or Gatorade Duel number 2. So that'll be some valuable track position for them in that, too. But keep in mind, if they end up getting involved in a wreck during those duels, and they have to go to a backup car, they forfeit their spot at the very front of the Great American Race. So, a lot on the line here. These drivers that are in this final 10, yeah, they'd be happy if they could win the pole for the 500, but by the time their duel comes around, they'll be on pins and needles, let me assure you. As I believe John Cittadino, I don't think anybody actually crossed the start-finish line there when they came off pit road due to the fact there's only 10 drivers on pit road. So this will be the first scored lap for John Cittadino as he'll work his way around the outside of Nathan Hudson. And let's see what his first lap's going to be. I'm assuming it'll be somewhere in like the 46s. Oh wow, it was even slower than I expected. 47.023. Fastest lap there, and I believe McCurry just beat that. 46.933. McCurry, who was fastest in the last session, right now fastest in this session. Not for long. Who just topped him? It was Cole Daly of 46.774. The likelihood of these drivers getting into groups with each other here with just about maybe 6 3/4 minutes remaining is very unlikely. So these drivers are going to have to really rely on what is underneath the hood of their machines now to get them onto the front row for the 500. Jacob Lawler moving by Joshua Michaels there. There's Hudson and Cittadino. Now those two may be able to work together, but that's the only possible two I can see being able to work with each other unless Joshua Michaels can latch onto the back bumper of Jacob Lawler. And Nathan Hudson is fastest on track now with a 45.441. I told you, watch out for those Heavy Metals Motorsports forwards. They are fast. They've been fast all practice long. I don't think that either of these drivers have been outside the top 20 as far as speeds this entire event, as someone just beat it. And that time it was Jacob Lawler. And now Zachary Fitzwater may be able to work with fellow Ford but not teammate Jake Rogers, as those two are together. And Lawler is now starting to catch up to the tail end of these guys too. So we could have maybe a 3-car pack, maybe 4 cars if Joshua Michaels can catch the draft and hook up with these guys. And if that's the case, look out everybody else. The 76, 19, 5, and 04 could be the 4 to settle it out for the front row of the 500, as Lawler's lap was a 44.986. I didn't think with only 10 cars on track we'd hit the 44s, but we're doing it. This time he even beat it even better, 44.862, as he got the draft off the back of the Heinz Ford of Jake Rogers. So we could end up, for the first time in NNSCRA history, having the defending champ start on the pole for the Great American Race. We've had similar situations like that before. Think back to Season 5. Chris Dollerton won the championship in trucks. Sean Galligan won the championship in mobile. The following season at Daytona, the truck race was won by Chris Dollerton, and the Mobile Cup Series race was won by Sean Galligan. So, pretty similar situation could happen here, and as I said, could be an opportunity for Camaro to, for the very first time in their very first point start in the Snickers Cup, to start on the pole position with the Farmers Insurance Camaro of Jacob Lawler. As that time he was just about 2/100 slower than his fastest lap, but right now Lawler is the man to beat, and the guy that's right behind him is John Cittadino, but he's almost, I'd say that's, what is it, 0.6 of a second behind him? Yeah. Nope, 0.4 of a second behind him. Then Nathan Hudson, then Michaels, then Fitzwater, Rogers, Poteet, who we haven't talked about at all yet, Cole Daly, McCurry, and Brandon Gonzalez. Where is Poteet? Yeah, he's all by his lonesome. Nathan Hudson, John Cittadino still trying to work together, but nothing seems to be coming of that. McCurry's left all by his lonesome. Gonzalez the same. Daly. Actually, Daly may end up having a little company in just a moment. His teammate, Jacob Lawler's coming up here. And if Lawler, who right now could have the pole position locked up because there's only a little more than 3.5 minutes remaining, if he can get in front of Cole Daly, help Daly to get some draft laps off of him, we could have a Hendrick Daly front row for the Daytona 500. I don't know if that would be strategy they would try working out. Think of this too, maybe if even if he can't beat John Cittadino's lap, if Daly could start third, that'd be 2 Hendrick Daly Motorsports cars starting one behind the other on the inside line for the Daytona 500, but Daly is coming to pit road. So any idea I had there of those two being able to work together to get that 88 a better lap, well, that just went out the window. Right now, though, anybody that's even close to each other to be able to try and get some draft laps. Michael's on pit road, Daly's on pit road, Fitzwater on pit road, making last-minute adjustments here with a little over 2.5 minutes remaining in this session. This is the duo I'm kind of looking at right now. Second fastest Cittadino and third fastest Nathan Hudson. Those two are somewhat close to each other, but they're not close enough to be able to put together a 2-car tandem draft lap. If I were Hudson, I'd try slowing up a little, let that Expedec Chevrolet get to me. But then again, keep in mind too, Cittadino would be starting on the outside of the front row, Nathan Hudson would be starting on the inside of the second row, and we've been told that the line that moves here at Daytona is that inside line, so that may be strategy on Nathan Hudson's part. And keep in mind, if the standings were to close the way they are, Hudson and Fitzwater, the two teammates, would be second and third on the inside line when the green flag drops. So, you know, there's definitely, qualifying is all about getting the pole, but there's got to be some kind of strategy looking forward towards the 500 that has to happen here. And oh boy, never mind that strategy. Nathan Hudson just ran the second fastest lap of the race, of this qualifying session, I should say. 45.243 by 1/1000th of a second. He is ahead of John Cittadino now for the second position. So this is quite interesting here. Jake Rogers actually just jumped up to 6th fastest on the chart as well. As there's about a minute and 20 left here. Is anybody else going to make any moves? I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge Jacob Lawler. I think he's got the pole locked up. Because nobody except that 5 car has hit the 44s. Everybody else has been 55.2 or slower. That time, little bit slower lap for Nathan Hudson. Cittadino was about a 100th slower than his fastest lap. Those two are so close to each other, but nowhere near close to being able to run down Jacob Lawler for the pole. So as this will probably be the last scored lap for these drivers, as it stands, Lawler would start on the pole, Nathan Hudson on the outside of the front row, and those would be the 2 guaranteed spots, at least for now, of who's going to start wearing the 500. Everybody else is determined by the Gatorade duels. Here I'm making all these assumptions about drivers strategizing and everything. I never even thought of the fact that the duels are going to come into play. McCurry coming off pit road. I don't think he's going to be much of a factor here. As the clock winds down from 10, now to 5 seconds remaining in this session. And I think it's very safe to say the defending champ will pick up Season 8 where he left off Season 7. He won the championship last season. He'll start on the pole for a race that he has won before. The Daytona 500 session is over, and Jacob Lawler is going to start on the pole for the Daytona 500, provided that he does not end up having to go to a backup car after the first Gatorade duel. Others that will join him in that duel: 3rd place Cittadino, 5th place Gonzalez, 7th place Poteet, and 9th place Cole Daly. Nathan Hudson, right now, the rookie, would be on the outside of the front row, and in the second Gatorade duel, he'll be on the pole for that event, along with Brandon Gonzalez, teammate Zachary Fitzwater, Jake Rogers, and Anthony McCurry. So Jacob Lawler, what a job they did today. Chevy Camaro showing its stuff here. Cole Daly, Cody Lamas had good runs in the Sprint Unlimited. Jacob Lawler gets the pole for the 500. Look out, SS's. The Camaros are coming. Hope you guys enjoyed this rather long qualifying session, but hey, it's worth it to see who's going to start on the pole and the front row for the 500. Next thing that'll be coming up is going to be our Gatorade duels, which will be coming up very shortly. Gatorade duel number 1, Gatorade duel number 2, and then we finally get it going. Our points events will then start up for trucks, mobile, and Snickers here at Daytona. Hope you guys enjoyed this qualifying session. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today, be sure to share this video with your friends, and we will see you guys next time. As you've been watching production of NNSCRA, Offline Racing at its best. Stay tuned for what the lineups look like for the 2 Gatorade duels coming up next here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel. Offline Racing at its best. Oh, Sean Henley got turned by Dunham, and he saved it. What are these guys doing? Oh, and Henley just got turned now. That time he got turned. Logan Wilson is flipping on his roof. Dylan Young is collected. Sosnowski's collected. Dylan Young is now flipping. Cittadino's involved. Mary Cole is in it. Drew Austin has been collected, and Dylan Young continues to flip. Now comes to rest. There is our caution.